Guys, for today's video, we will be discussing process costing system. To recap, when we say process costing system, we manufacture homogeneous products, meaning they are alike or similar. These are mass-produced and it is driven by push demand, and we accumulate cost per department. So for example, if we have 3 departments, each department incurs its own material, labor, and overhead, and we compute their cost per department. After that, we add all of them in order to arrive at our unit cost. As you can see with this illustration, our input are our raw materials, and then it will be processed in our first department, wherein we will add our labor and overhead. Then after that, it will be transferred to the next department, which is the second process. And then on that second department, they will add materials, labor, and overhead. And then after that specific process, it will be transferred to the next department, and so on and so forth until the units are finished. A central discussion in process costing is equivalent units of production. It is an expression of the amount of work done by manufacturer on units of output that are partially completed at the end of the accounting period. So in here, we will translate your unfinished items and convert it into an assumption that it is completed as to the units made. So for example, 2 half-completed products is equivalent to 1 completed product. So for example, if you have 10,000 units and these are 70% completed at the end of the period, it is equivalent to 7,000 completed units. So in short, we will assume that the units are completed because basically they are not completed at the end of the period. That's why they are still work in process. However, in order for us to be able to compute the cost, we need to assume. That's why we make an equivalent unit for the computation of this cost. Now, there are 2 methods that we use in process costing. We have the weighted average method and the FIFO method, or the first in, first out. When we say weighted average, in here, we do not distinguish the units that you procure from your supplier. So even if they are mixed up in your storage room or warehouse, we can still come up with a new unit cost. As to FIFO, we need to distinguish the different units that you procure from your suppliers per period. So what method will I use for my business? The answer is it depends on the nature of your product, and it depends on the discretion of management if they are comfortable with weighted average or FIFO method. But then again, if you have incomplete records of your inventory, you use weighted average. Another discussion that we need to emphasize is the quantity schedule format. So we can use this format in both weighted average method and first in, first out method in order for us to know our equivalent units, and subsequently in order for us to prepare our cost schedule. What is the format of our quantity schedule? So to all the students watching this video, I suggest you familiarize yourself with this format in order for you not to have problem in computing the equivalent units of production. I could say that this is an ease on your part to compute your equivalent units of production correctly. So first is we have your WIP beginning in unit, to add all the units started in the period, and also you add all the units transferred in from the previous department. And then you will come up with units to be accounted for. On the other side, you will account for the completed and transferred to the next department, add all completed and on hand, meaning they are not yet transferred to the next department because it can be the next department has already a full capacity, so it cannot anymore absorb additional units, so you need to hold it first on your department and add up the WIP ending, or the remaining items in your department that are uncompleted. You will arrive at the units as accounted for. Always remember that the units to be accounted for should be equal to the units as accounted for. Any discrepancy, meaning there are errors or there are lost or spoiled units. Now, for the equivalent units of production, we will just concentrate on the second part. You need to separate the materials and the conversion costs. Now, to recap, your conversion cost is a composition of labor and factory overhead. So you compute the equivalent units of production for the completed and transferred, for the completed and on hand. So in here, the equivalent units of production is automatically 100% because they are already completed. While for the WIP ending, you need to follow the percentage given in the problem because these are not yet completed during the period. And then you get the total for materials and you get the total for the conversion cost. Now, you will use the total equivalent units of production for materials and total equivalent units of production for conversion cost in our cost schedule. So this is your weighted average method quantity schedule. Now let's go to your FIFO method quantity schedule. They are basically the same on the first half. So we're beginning in units, add your started, add your transferred in order for you to get the units to be accounted for. On the second half, you need to distinguish the WIP beginning in units from your completed and transferred and complete and on hand. Because remember, you need to segregate the items that you have completed this period that came from your previous period, and then you add your WIP ending in order to arrive at the units as accounted for. So the difference here is the line item on the WIP beginning. You need to compute the WIP beginning equivalent units of production by multiplying the opposite percentage given in the problem. So for example, if it is stated that the WIP beginning is 70% complete, you need to multiply your WIP beginning by the opposite percentage, which is 30%. Why? Because that is the needed percentage during the period in order for you to complete the units. Then, completed and transferred, 100%. Complete and on hand, still 100%. While WIP ending, you need to multiply the percentage given in the problem in order for you to compute the EUP. Then you add in order for you to get the total equivalent units of production for materials and the total conversion cost equivalent units of production. Remember, in computing your EUP, if it is stated in the problem that your materials is 100% added at the beginning, the WIP beginning is 0, while the WIP ending is 100%. On the other hand, if on the problem it is given that your materials is 100% added at the end, your WIP beginning is 100% and your WIP ending is 0. In order for us to be clarified, let us have an example. L company manufactures a product that goes through 3 departments, LA, LE, and LI. Information relating to activity department LA or the first department during October is given below. So the WIP beginning in units is 50,000 and the percentage of completion for materials is 90% and the percentage of completion for conversion cost is 60%. Started in production is 390,000. Completed and transferred is 410,000. WIP ending 30,000 and the percentage of completion for materials is 70% and for conversion cost is 50%. Required. Compute the equivalent units of production for October assuming the company is using weighted average method of accounting for units and costs. And next, compute the equivalent units of production for October assuming the company is using the FIFO method of accounting for units and costs. So let's proceed to the first one. So what is the WIP beginning? It's 50,000 units. Started is 390,000 units. Now in the problem, we don't have any transferred in, so it is 0. Our total units to be accounted for is 440,000. On the other hand, completed and transferred is 410,000. There are no units completed and on hand, so it is 0. While our WIP ending is 30,000. Our total units as accounted for is 440,000. So we are balanced. Now we can proceed with our EUP. As we all know, if the products are completed and transferred or completed and on hand, they are 100%. So you just copy 410,000 for the materials and copy 410,000 for conversion costs. When it comes to WIP ending, we need to follow the percentage given in the problem. So it is stated that the materials is 70% complete. So you multiply 30,000 by 70%, you will arrive at 21,000. So our total equivalent units of production for materials is 431,000. While for your conversion cost, we multiply the WIP ending by 50%. So that's 15,000. Our total conversion cost for equivalent units of production is 425,000. So the answer for our letter A is 431,000 equivalent units of production for materials and 425,000 units of production for conversion costs. Now let's go to FIFO. For FIFO, the first part is the same as your weighted average. So we just copy 50,000 and 390,000. 0 will be our transfer in. So our total units to be accounted for is 440,000. Now on the other part, we need to put our WIP beginning 50,000. Now for the completed and transferred, as we all know, it is 410,000. In here, the 410,000 is composed of 50,000 WIP beginning and the remaining is our started in production. So we need to separate that one. So from the 410,000 110,000 completed and transferred, 5,000 of which came from WIP beginning. So we need to deduct that one. So 410,000 minus 50,000, which is our WIP beginning. So our completed and transferred is 360,000. Then our completed and on hand is 0. And our WIP ending is still 30,000. So all in all, our units as accounted for is still 440,000. We just separated the 50,000 WIP beginning from the completed and transferred of 410,000. Because remember, in first and first out, we need to distinguish the items remaining last month that were processed this month and the items processed this month and completed this month. How do we compute for the equivalent units of production for WIP beginning? So as we have discussed a while ago, we need to follow the opposite percentage for WIP beginning. So in the problem, your material is 90% completed, so we follow 10%. While for conversion cost, it's 60%, so we follow the opposite, which is 40%. So you multiply 10% times 50,000, you get 5,000. While for conversion cost, that's 40%. 40% times 50,000, so we get 20,000. Now for completed and transferred, still 100%, so that's 360,000, both for materials and conversion cost. Then our completed and on hand is still 0. Now for our WIP ending, we follow the given percentage, so that's 70% times 30,000, we get 221,000 units. While for conversion cost, that's 50%. The 30,000 times 50% is 15,000 units. So our total equivalent units of production for materials is 386,000, while for conversion cost equivalent units of production is 395,000. So remember, we use your equivalent units of production in order for you to compute your unit cost in your inventory cost schedule. So I hope you learned something from this video today, guys.